Hey there, I'm John with Board Game Geek, and today we have Brian here from Asmodee, and we are looking at the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth that's coming out from Fantasy Flight Games, right?
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so this is a pretty wide, sizable box here. What is inside of it?
A big, epic adventure.
Well, that's expected.
But have you played Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition? Are you familiar with sort of the app integration?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
They did there, yes. So what's cool about that is you're able to put a really big game, a really big story with a lot of variability, replayability, lots and lots of details that they can cram into the game that they don't have to try to represent with cardboard.
Right.
They can put it into the app. They can manage a lot of the experience for you.
Okay.
But all of the gameplay is still happening on the table with physical pieces.
Great.
We're just letting the technology that's so ubiquitous in our life make our life easier.
Do some of the heavy lifting, yeah?
Yeah. So you can do it on a tablet, on a phone, on a laptop. The app's free on all those platforms.
Great.
Whatever works for you.
So how does it work?
So I'm Legolas. You're Aragorn. When we set up the app here, we told them who we were playing. We picked what roles we wanted to take in the party, and it gave us some lore, some story about the adventure that we're on. And then the app told us how to lay out the tiles. And this is certainly not going to be all of the wilderness we're going to be exploring here. As we're going to be moving around, it'll keep growing and expanding out. With the app managing that and managing all the bad guys. So when it's your turn in the game, you're going to get to decide whether you want to move, whether you want to fight one of the bad guys that are there, or whether you want to interact with one of the elements on the board, right? So we can see like, oh, there's this little kind of eyeball token here. When we go and we investigate that on the app, it'll say what that represents. So in this case, a patch of mushrooms fills the area with an intoxicating scent. This is the first scenario, by the way. So we're not quite, killing trolls yet. We're starting with investigating mushrooms, and we're going to work our way up. And so if we, for my 2 actions, I could move 1 or 2 areas over, and then I could interact with this, and I search this, and it's going to say, oh, the mushrooms are small and speckled with blue. Test, I'm going to have to test one of my stats here in order to do this. In this case, I'm testing my wit, so all the characters are going to have stats. And one of the really cool things in the game, and the thing that's going to be following you through your whole playthrough, is your skill deck. So when you start out the game, you're going to get some cards based on what character you're playing. That's going to represent what makes them unique. You're going to get some basic cards that everybody gets in the game, and then you're going to add in a few more cards based off of the role you're taking in the party. So in this case, Legolas is the hunter, and so that's what's made up my skill deck. And so when you're testing something, we're going to flip over a number of cards equal to the stats, and we're going to be looking for these orange
the symbols in the top right corners, left corners,
And so I got 2 of those, which would mean I would pass this test because it said I needed 2 here. And then we can go into the app, and it's going to tell you what happens from there.
Great.
And those will get discarded. And on top of that, in addition to the skill deck being used to test whether you succeed in things, every round you're going to be able to scout, where you're going to be able to look at a couple of cards, prepare one of them, so it's going to be able to use the special ability text that's on there. Now this is active, and I'm going to be able to use it later on in the game. This one would help me with wit tests, so that'd be nice. And then there's going to be a second card that you're going to be able to put on the top of your bottom of your deck. So in this case, I drew my weakness card here, which is just sort of a blank null card, which is never useful.
No.
But then I could bury that on my desk.
That seems pretty useful.
Deck there, so you're going around, the app's telling you what's there and resolving this, and it's just so much smoother to be able to have this sort of adventure managed by the app than a deck of cards or a giant book full of reference numbers.
Sure. Probably less likely to make a mistake, too, as you're evaluating it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then after I've taken my actions, then you would get to go. You could maybe go over here and explore this part of this forest, and it has one of these exploration tokens here that corresponds to the area being grayed out on the map as well. So when you explore that, then that's going to open up a whole new part. You'll get some story about what happens. The wind brushes over the grass, making the woods of an old gibbet creak ominously. discard the exploration token, you gain an inspiration. I haven't talked about inspiration, but there will be cards in your skill deck that have this matching symbol.
Yeah, symbols, yep.
And you'll be able to turn those into successes by spending inspiration.
Oh, excellent.
And you get inspiration in lots of different ways. Your fellow party members helping you out. It's a cooperative game. After all, doing cool stuff, defeating bad guys, all those sort of things are going to give you inspiration, which will help you down the road. And then the app's going to tell you which of the over 30 different tiles you're going to add onto the map and new figures that are going to pop up.
Okay.
And so it's a game, one of the emotions it really evokes is the sense of adventure, right? So starting out here, we have only sort of a vague idea that there's been some bandits in the area and we need to investigate that. And as you go down the line, you're going to learn what your mission is, and the app's going to keep updating you on what you're trying to do at that point. So you always have a goal, but you don't necessarily know what it's going to be.
You're not sure what the end goal is.
Yes.
I see.
Which is very exciting, right? It's where it's not just like, oh, we need to solve the puzzle and do the math and win the game, but you're going to get the story, get the sense of exploration, never know quite what's going to be around the next corner.
Great. So when this one comes out, about how many scenarios are going to be available at that point?
So there's one campaign.
Okay, yeah.
That will be in the box, and so it's going to be a whole series of scenarios that you'll play through, and you'll always advance to a new scenario at the end of the current one, and they'll be different depending on what happens in the scenario. And each scenario is actually there might be some main story beats that are always going to be there, but some of the other things that'll happen in each scenario are going to be generated by the app.
Oh, okay, great.
I've played this demo scenario quite a few times here at GAMA, and I've never seen the mushroom thing before.
Okay, so we're not really doing spoilers here.
It's hard to, and it's exciting because it means you can replay the campaign maybe on a harder difficulty, but know that there's going to be other things that will happen as well.
Great.
There.
So about how long does each scenario usually take? I imagine it differs, right?
It varies. About an hour is I think kind of the standard, but it's going to vary scenario by scenario.
Great.
And I don't know, it's really exciting to me that you can play a game in Lord of the Rings, right? Like my favorite fantasy universe. That's going to be this big campaign, but where you don't have a million things filling up the table to start with, so you can really focus in on the story and your own personal, what you're doing with your skill deck and you're upgrading your equipment and stuff like that.
Great. Well, at this point, Brian, when can we expect to see Journeys in Middle Earth on the shelves?
It's coming out Q2 of 2019. So really pretty soon.
Just in a couple months.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming over, Brian, and showing us the game.
Yeah. Happy to be here.